This is ATN Global News. First, the headlines. Fubara set to punish erring permanent secretaries for illegality. Army arrests 16 officers for misconduct. Court dismisses suit against Akpabio. Senate over Natasha's suspension. CBN announces fresh regulations to control Nigerian market. Israel deports 137 activists from Gaza aid flotilla. Super Falcons forward Onumonu announces retirement from football. Burna Boy, Wizkid, Ira Star submit Grammy projects. Rivers State Governor Sasiminalaye Fubara has warned that permanent secretaries who aided illegality during the recent emergency rule in the state will soon face consequences. Governor Fubara issued the warning on Friday during the swearing-in ceremony of a new permanent secretary, Mr. Austin Ezekiel Hart, at the Government House in Port Harcourt. He commended the new appointee for his integrity and urged him to remain steadfast in doing what is right. The governor also directed the head of service to immediately assign the new permanent secretary to his official duties. Lagos State government has shut down Itedo market in Lekki indefinitely over repeated environmental violations and illegal roadside trading. The State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokumbo Wahab, who announced the development on his official X handle on Saturday, said 5 individuals were arrested for flouting state laws during the enforcement exercise. He added that 3 black Maria vehicles had been stationed at the markets to deter further illegal activity and maintain order in the area. The move comes as part of the state's ongoing clampdown on environmental infractions and unauthorized trading across major markets and highways. ATA reports that Lagos has repeatedly taken drastic action against markets and plazas that flout environmental laws. In April 2025, the state government sealed off 13 markets in the Ketu Mile 12 axis for persistently violating waste management rules. On the same trajectory, authorities shut down the Oko Oba Abattoir in June 2025, citing inappropriate operational practices and environmental infractions. Other interventions include the sealing of public toilets and markets for illegal sewage discharge and structural violations. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has ordered a full investigation into the recent killings of some residents of Akinlalu community by operatives of the Amotekun Corps. The governor has subsequently dispatched a top-level government delegation to the affected community to find out what transpired on the day of the incident. Adeleke's decision to probe the incident was contained in a statement signed by his spokesperson, Olawale Rashid, made available to the journalists in Oshobo on Saturday. Rashid said his principal expressed deep shock at the deaths of some individuals from the town after receiving a preliminary report from his special advisor on security matters. He vowed to dig into the roots of the incident, saying a high-powered delegation of government and servant chiefs will visit the affected town after the scheduled State Security Council meeting on Monday. ATN reports that Osun State Police Command had earlier said it would ensure all those involved in the mayhem that occurred in Akinlalu, where operatives of Osun Amotekun Corps killed 3 people, were identified and faced the wrath of the law. The spokesperson for the command, Abiodun Ojelabi, while giving updates on the incident during a chat with newsmen on Friday, explained that those Amotekun men involved in the killing had been identified. Tragedy struck on Friday night at the Alapoka axis of Papalanto Ilaro Road in Ogun State when a Dangote cement truck reportedly suffered brake failure and crashed into a commercial tricycle, killing all 5 occupants instantly. The fatal collision occurred at approximately 8:25 p.m. and involved an unregistered tricycle and a Dangote truck. Batunde Akimbi, spokesperson for the Ogun State Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Agency TRACE, confirmed the incident, explaining that the truck driver did not immediately realize he had hit the tricycle until the crash had already caused catastrophic damage. Following the crash, an emergency response team led by acting TRACE head Adedayo Omona Yajo and the Ilaro Divisional Commander Salako Idowu arrived at the scene to carry out rescue operations. However, the situation turned tense as irate residents attempted to attack the rescue team in protest of the tragic deaths. Security operatives, including members of the Amotekun Corps, were deployed to restore calm and prevent a breakdown of law and order. Officials of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, later evacuated the victims' remains and deposited them at the morgue. Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun has announced a new partnership with Chinese investors aimed at strengthening the state's energy infrastructure and industrial capacity. In a statement shared on X on Saturday, according to the governor, discussions with the Jiangsu-based company CTech focused on funding availability, technical capacity, and the company's readiness to deliver key energy projects for the state. The governor added that the delegation would inspect ongoing distribution infrastructure and power projects executed by Sahara and PowerGen as part of efforts to secure a reliable energy supply across Ogun State. In related developments, reports indicate that maiden commercial flights from the Gateway International Airport, Iperu Ilishan, to Abuja have sold out, with tickets for the following day also fully booked. The development underscores the airport's readiness to serve as a hub for modern aviation and connectivity in Nigeria. Gateway International Airport was officially granted an aerodrome operational permit by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority in August 2025. Passenger flight operations are set to commence on October 7, 2025, with ValueJet Airline starting passenger flights twice weekly. Amid a surge in deadly attacks by suspected Lakurawa bandits, residents of Kabel local government area in Sokoto State have called on the federal government to permit them to bear sophisticated weapons for self-defense. The residents, who voiced their anguish at a press conference held on Saturday at the Nigerian Union of Journalists Secretariat Sokoto, said they can no longer endure the incident killings and destruction of property by the marauding bandits. Led by Alhaji Adamu Kebe, the group accused both the state and local authorities of abandoning them to their fate, lamenting that the government's response to their plight has been slow and inadequate. They also urged the federal government to grant direct funding to local governments to enable them to equip local security outfits and respond swiftly to attacks. Sokoto State has been one of the worst hit by banditry in recent years, with emerging terrorist groups such as the Lakurawas and the notorious gang led by Bello Toji unleashing deadly violence across Isa, Sabon Breni, and Kebe local government areas. While the state government has acknowledged the growing threat, residents say its measures have fallen far short of what is needed to guarantee safety. Kebbi State Police Command on Saturday said a combined team of police officers and vigilantes killed 3 suspected Lakurawa bandits during an operation in Gorun, Yama Village, Dandi local government area. Police spokesperson CSP Nafiu Abubakar confirmed that the divisional police officer in Kamba, Mohammed Bello, acted on intelligence to mobilize security operatives who engaged the bandits in a gun duel lasting several hours. The confrontation resulted in the deaths of 3 suspects, the recovery of an unregistered vehicle, and the abandonment of weapons by other bandits who fled into the forest with gunshot injuries. Commissioner of Police CP Bello M. Sani commended the operatives for their courage, urged continued pressure on criminal elements, and reassured residents of the command's commitment to making Kebbi State unsafe for banditry. Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Barrister Yesom Wike, has assured the residents of FCT of safe and peaceful environment, saying his administration is doing all possible to ensure protection of life and properties. The minister said this on Saturday, 4th October 2025, while speaking with journalists in Abuja shortly after carrying out inspection roads projects in Wuje District and Kuje Expressway under construction.
Outside this way, we did say that when we came, it is the same thing as we are saying today. I've always told people, take for example, yesterday we are talking about Light of Abuja. Light of Abuja is not just to beautify the city, it's also to improve security. The problem we have here is that when one incident happens, we forget 3 months ago that nothing happened. You will give us the credit and the security agencies that we are doing quite a lot to make Abuja safe. And Abuja has been safe, but we do agree for something may happen. That does not mean that the place is not safe. Just look at what happened in America, Michigan. See how people went to church and start shooting people. Will you say that America is not safe? You see the Charlie Kirk, he was killed. Would you say that America is not safe? This is bound to happen. And I don't want us to take that to mean that the city is not safe. If there's one safe city in this country, I think Abuja is.
Responding to the question of Abuja cleanup exercise, Wike said new contracts will be awarded next week to the contractors that have capacity to clean Abuja city.
Outside this way, we did say that when we came, it is the same thing as we are saying today. I've always told people, take for example, yesterday we are talking about Light of Abuja. A lot of Abuja is not just to beautify the city, it's also to improve security. The problem we have here is that when one incident happens, we forget 3 months ago that nothing happened. You will give us the credit and the security agencies that we are doing quite a lot to make Abuja safe. And Abuja has been safe, but we do agree for something may happen. That does not mean that the place is not safe. Just look at what happened in America, Michigan. Say people went to church and start shooting people. Will you say that America is not safe? You see the Charlie Kirk, he was killed. Would you say that America is not safe? This is bound to happen. And I don't want us to take that to mean that the city is not safe. If there's one safe city in this country, I think Abuja is.
For the roads project inspected, the minister expressed satisfaction on the work carried out, assuring that it will be ready for commissioning by May 2026 to mark President Tinubu's 3rd year anniversary.
Well, it is also a problem. If you watch what is going on now along the airport road and Yanya Karashi area, it's been a major problem. We have to be already removing all the refuse that have been dumped. You just ask yourself. And the problem we have is that we believe in the next 2 weeks the contract will be formally awarded for the refuse disposal. So that I can tell you, that will help us quite a lot. Even in the city, there was no contract. The one that was there before came all expired, but everything is being done to see that. And not just giving out this contract, most of them don't have the capacity. I call them political contractors. So we do everything to see that only those who are competent, those who have equipment to clean to do refuse disposal, give it. Just be patient with us. We are not happy. We are doing everything to see that to them.
More than 250 commercial vehicle drivers have been apprehended in the Federal Capital Territory for violating a directive that mandates only one passenger in the front seat of taxis, the Federal Road Safety Corps disclosed. The FCT Sector Commander Felix Tiemann disclosed this in a statement signed by the Command's Public Education Officer Helen Intaji on Saturday in Abuja. The statement noted that the arrest came within the first 2 days of a new enforcement campaign launched by the FCT Command of the FRSC on October 2, aimed at curbing overloading in commercial transport and restoring compliance with vehicle safety standards. According to the statement, Tiemann said the operation was a decisive step toward restoring passenger dignity and safety on the roads. The FRSC noted that overloading, especially placing 2 passengers in the front seat, makes it impossible for seat belts to be used properly and compromises overall vehicle safety. The man warned that such practices not only endanger lives but also put additional stress on tires and suspension systems and reduce driver control, particularly in emergencies. To prepare for the crackdown, the command held months of consultations with transport unions and stakeholders across the FCT. According to the FRSC, the unions have expressed full support for the operation and pledged to promote safer driving practices among their members. The enforcement is being carried out in conjunction with mobile magistrate courts, which allow for the on-the-spot prosecution of offenders. Nasarawa State Primary Health Care Development Agency has unveiled plans to administer vaccines to over 1.3 million underage children against measles and rubella across the 13 local government areas of the state. Speaking during a media dialogue on the integrated polio, measles, rubella vaccination campaign in Lafia, the state capital, the state health educator of the agency, Ishaya Amegwa, said 1,372,000 children between the ages of 9 months to 14 years have been targeted for the exercise. He noted that the 10-day vaccination exercise will begin from October 6 to 16 and called for enhanced media advocacy to meet the target of eliminating this scourge by 2030 globally. Amegwa further highlighted that the vaccines have been tested and proven to be safe and effective, noting that they will be given free of charge to children within the eligible age. On his part, the United Nations Children's Fund Health Specialist, Dr. Lukman Ahmed, disclosed that Nasarawa State will launch the vaccination in the Akwanga local government area of the state on October 7, and urged traditional rulers and religious leaders to advocate extensively for the success of the exercise across the state. Dr. Ahmed, while emphasizing that the vaccines are highly effective, appealed that no child should be left unvaccinated during the period of the exercise. He noted that the integration of the polio, measles, rubella vaccination under a single exercise had eased the process with a view to achieving goals seamlessly. Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed a suit filed against Senate President Godswill Akpabio challenging the legality of the 6-month suspension imposed on Kogi's Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan over alleged misconduct. The suit, filed by Ovavu Iliyasu and 9 others, was dismissed by the judge on the grounds that the plaintiffs lacked legal standing to bring the matter before the court. The suit contested the validity of the suspension of Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan for various reasons. Among other things, the plaintiffs asked the court to void the suspension on the grounds that their senatorial district will be shortchanged and called for an immediate recall. Delivering judgment on Friday, Justice Omotosho held that the 10 plaintiffs lacked locus standi to institute the action and subsequently dismissed the suit for lack of merit. Meanwhile, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan returned to her office at the National Assembly on September 23 after a 6-month suspension. The suspension which began on March 6, was imposed over an alleged violation of Senate standing rules. Although the Senate is currently on recess, her supporters celebrated her return, marking the end of her suspension period. Akpoti-Uduaghan had challenged her suspension in court, seeking to resume her duties earlier. However, the Senate ruled that her suspension would only be reviewed once the court processes was concluded. The matter remains under legal review, with the Senate maintaining that no administrative action will be taken until the Court of Appeal makes a ruling. The Senate defended its decision to suspend Akpoti-Uduaghan, emphasizing the need to adhere to its rules to avoid undermining the institution's integrity. Armed Forces of Nigeria on Saturday said it arrested 16 officers for alleged indiscipline and breach of service regulations. The military said investigations showed that the grievances of the arrested officers were linked to repeated failure in promotion examinations and perceived career stagnation. According to a statement by Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Tuku Goso, their conduct was described as incompatible with military standards. He noted that some of the officers had been under jurisdiction for various offenses and were either awaiting an order or undergoing trial. He noted that those indicted at the end of the investigation would face the military disciplinary process in line with established procedures. He further stressed that the military would not tolerate behavior that undermines its integrity or threatens its constitutional role. Cases of disciplinary action are not new within the Nigerian military. In recent years, the armed forces have sanctioned personnel over mutiny, desertion, and acts deemed prejudicial to service discipline. Former Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabor, retired, says political leadership must take full ownership of the war against Boko Haram insurgency and wider insecurity in the country, stressing that it cannot be defeated through military force alone. Irabor said this in an interview while talking about his new book, Scars, Nigeria's Journey and the Boko Haram Conundrum. He stated that successive governments had failed to provide the legal and political framework necessary to end the conflict. Irabor, who led Operation Lafia Dole, recorded key battlefield successes during his tenure, including the capture of Al-Gano, clearance of the Sambisa forest, and the elimination of senior Boko Haram commanders. He added that conflicts of this nature are not chessboard games, noting that being a military strategist does not mean you can solve every violent problem with military precision. Nigeria Police Force says its border patrol unit has intercepted over 100 jerrycans of Pemomoto spirits, commonly known as petrol, in separate operations aimed at curbing cross-border smuggling. Force spokesman CSP Benjamin Hundehin, in a statement on Saturday, said operatives on stop and search duties along the Ilela-Sokoto highway arrested one Yasser Adamu, who was found transporting 80 jerrycans of petrol. He added that in another operation in Katsina, the police seized 35 jerrycans of petrol, each measuring 25 liters. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, commended the operatives for their vigilance and professionalism. Hyundai assured that the force would continue to strengthen their security operations, noting that the latest interceptions underscored the police's determination to stop illegal fuel smuggling. Fuel smuggling has been a recurring challenge for Nigeria since the removal of the petrol subsidy in May 2023, particularly because of large price disparities between Nigeria and its neighboring countries. Petrol prices in Nigeria have risen above 900 naira per litre in many places, while neighboring countries charge significantly more, creating profitable cross-border arbitrage. The Nigeria Customs Service has confirmed ongoing smuggling operations despite subsidy removal and has stepped up border patrols and anti-smuggling operations. Nigeria Police Force has said it is yet to be served with the order of the Federal High Court stopping the enforcement of tinted glass permits. First Public Relations Officer CSP Benjamin Hundeyin disclosed this on Saturday while reacting to reports that the court had restrained the police from arresting or prosecuting motorists over tinted glasses. 18 reports that a Federal High Court had on Friday granted an order in directing the police to suspend enforcement of the permits pending the determination of the substantive case. The order asked the police to maintain the status quo, halting any action against motorists until the matter is concluded. But Hundeyin on X said the police had not been officially served. The clarification follows claims by human rights lawyer Ini Behe Efyong, who has circulated a portion of the ruling restraining the police from enforcing the regulation. The police had in April 2023 announced the resumption of the permit scheme under the Police Specialized Services Automation Project after suspending it in 2022. Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention has confirmed that Lassa fever has claimed 168 lives across 21 states in 2025. In its situation reports for epidemiological week 38, the agency revealed that a total of 4,543 suspected cases, of which 897 were confirmed positive, with a case fatality rate of 18.7%. The NCDC noted that 4 states, Ondo, Edo, Taraba and Bauchi, remain the epicenters of the outbreak, accounting for 67% of all confirmed cases. Ondo alone has recorded the highest burden, followed by Edo and Bauchi. Other affected states include Ebonyi, Benue, Kogi, Gombe, Plateau, Kaduna, Nasarawa, Enugu, Delta, Anambra Rivers, Borno, Oyo, Ogun, the Federal Capital Territory, and Lagos. The report also highlighted that most of the confirmed cases were among people aged 21 to 40, with both men and women affected. The NCDC said this age group is the most socially and economically active, making them more exposed to the rodent-borne disease. Lassa fever is an acute viral hemorrhagic illness transmitted to humans through contact with food or household items contaminated by the urine or feces of infected rats. Human-to-human transmission is also possible, especially in healthcare settings without proper infection prevention. The agency emphasized that early presentation at treatment centers significantly improves chances of survival, as ribavirin, an antiviral medicine, is more effective when administered promptly. And now some business news. Central Bank of Nigeria has announced sweeping regulations to take control of the Nigerian fixed income market. The regulations expected to begin in November are aimed at boosting transparency across Nigeria's financial sector. The Apex Bank disclosed this in a recent statement. CBN noted that the intervention is a key part of broader financial market reforms. Accordingly, it said its core objective is to enhance regulatory oversight and strengthen the market's ability to effectively support the transmission of monetary policy and ultimately foster economic growth. ATM reports that fixed income securities refer to investment which provide a return in the form of fixed periodic interest payment and the eventual return of the principal at maturity. Nigeria's food companies have been given 18 months to eliminate industrially produced trans fatty acids from their products. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control announced on Friday as part of a new national strategy to address a major public health risk. Trans fats, commonly found in processed oils, baked goods, and fried foods, are strongly linked to heart disease, stroke, and premature death. According to NAFDAC, the roadmap adopts a phased approach, including product reformulation, laboratory capacity strengthening, compliance monitoring, public education, and collaboration with government and civil society. The Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Modishola Adeyeye, said in a keynote address shared on X, formerly Twitter, that the roadmap shifts the country from policy creation to aggressive enforcement and implementation. The 18-month transition period is designed to allow manufacturers to exhaust existing stock and reformulate their product to meet the new legal limit. The announcement follows Nigeria's recognition in 2023 by the World Health Organization for adopting best practice policies on trans fat elimination. The new roadmap is expected to secure World Health Organization validation of Nigeria's full elimination program and establish the country as a regional leader in public health interventions. You are still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is International Tidbits. Israel said on Saturday that it had deported 137 more activists who were detained while taking part in an aid flotilla bound for Gaza. The Israeli Foreign Ministry said those deported were citizens of the United States, Italy, the United Kingdom, Switzerland, Jordan, and several other countries. The ministry said in a post on X that 137 more provocateurs of the Hamas summoned flotilla were deported today to Turkey. On Friday, Israel deported 4 Italian activists, the first of hundreds detained from the flotilla. The global Sumud flotilla set sail last month, ferrying politicians and activists, including Swedish campaigner Greta Thunberg, towards Gaza, where the United Nations says famine is taking hold. The Israeli Navy began intercepting the boats on Wednesday, and an Israeli official said the following day that boats with more than 400 people on board had been prevented from reaching the Palestinian territory. Death toll in an Indonesian school collapse rose to 14 on Saturday, and officials said as rescuers moved to deploy heavy machinery to recover dozens more victims still buried under the rubble. I beg your pardon. Part of the multi-story boarding school collapsed suddenly on Monday as students gathered for afternoon prayers. National Disaster Mitigation Agency Chief Surayunto told reporters the rescuers found 9 bodies on Friday, raising the total to 14. More victims could be found, Suharyanto said, as rescuers moved to use heavy machinery to clear locations where the victims were believed to be buried underneath the rubble. The school collapse was so violent that it sent tremors across the neighborhood, according to residents. Investigators have been looking into the cause of the collapse, but initial signs pointed to substandard construction, experts have said. The rescue operation was complex because vibrations in one place could affect other areas, officials said. But the families of the missing agreed on Thursday for heavy equipment to be used after the 72-hour golden period for the best chance of survival came to an end. The rescue operation was complicated by an earthquake that struck overnight on Tuesday, briefly halting the search. Russian drone strike on a railway station in the northeastern Ukrainian region of Sumy wounded at least 30 people, President Volodymyr Zelensky said Saturday. Russia's army has repeatedly targeted Ukraine's railway infrastructure since invading in February 2022. Zelensky called for the strike on Shotska station in Sumy savage. He posted a video showing the mangled train carriage and engulfed in twisted metals and busted windows. The site is around 50 kilometers, 30 miles from the Russian border. A separate wave of overnight strikes by Russia's army on Saturday cut off power to some 50,000 households in the northern Chernihiv region. Ukraine's army on Saturday also claimed to have struck a major oil refinery in Russia's northwestern Leningrad region. Kyiv has vowed to increase its own long-range drone attacks on Russian energy sites in what it calls fair retribution for Russia's daily attack on its cities and power grid.
These are exciting times for broadcasting in Africa. The National Broadcasting Commission is set to host the 14th Biennial Conference and Exhibition of African Broadcasters, Africast 2025 in Lagos, Nigeria. Participants will experience a week of world-class expositions showcasing the very best in creativity, innovation, and cutting-edge broadcasting technological advancement and trends in the global broadcast media ecosystem. Theme: Navigating the Digital Surge, Building a Resilient Africa Media Ecosystem for the Future. Date: Monday, October 20th to Friday, October 24th, 2025. Venue: Balmoral Convention Center, Sheraton, Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria. Time: 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Visit www.africastexpo.com or email info@nbc.gov.ng. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting. Announcer, Management.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Here now is 18 Sports News. Super Falcons forward Ifeoma Onumonu on Saturday announced her retirement from professional football. Onumonu quitting the beautiful game at the age of 31. The striker represented United States of America at the under-23 level before switching her allegiance to Nigeria. Onumonu was part of the Super Falcons side that won the title at the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. She last played for French club Montpellier. Nigeria National League side Doma United have appointed Najib Mabo as their new technical advisor. Chairman of the Savannah Tigers, Alhaji Suleiman Omar, confirmed Mabo's appointment during the team's training session. Mabo joined Doma United from fellow NNL side Mighty Jets. The young tactician replaces Akinade Onigbinde, who left the club at the end of last season. He will be assisted by Coach Maurice Chigozie and Coach Suleiman Mohamed Anke, both of whom have been integral members of the club's coaching crew. Doma United will be aiming to secure promotion to the NPFL in the new season. Barcelona coach Hansi Flick said Saturday Lamine Yamal's groin injury is not simple to heal from and cast doubt over a potential return date. The Spanish champion said Yamal will be out for 2 to 3 weeks in a statement on Friday, but Flick suggested the 18-year-old winger's absence could potentially be longer. Yamal will miss World Cup qualifiers with Spain and is aiming to return before Barcelona face Real Madrid in a Clásico at the Santiago Bernabeu on October 26. Yamal suffered a groin injury while playing with Spain in September, missing 4 games before returning to action last week. The teenager recently voted the second best player in the world at the Ballon d'Or. Gala played against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League on Wednesday, suffering a recurrence of his injury. Flick said he had spoken to Yamal on Saturday, and the winger gave him new positive news. Flick criticized Spain coach Luis de la Fuente after Yamal played against Bulgaria and Turkey with pain-killing injections. De la Fuente said Friday he expected Flick to have more empathy, having been a national team coach himself. But the German stood by his words. And now, entertainment news. Music artist Shay Shay has revealed the cause of a long-standing rift with her colleague Tiwa Savage. She disclosed that her former personal assistant was at the root of their fallout. The Yolo Yolo crew now recalled that unknown to her, the ex-staff member was having an affair with Tiwa Savage's estranged husband, Tunji Balogun, aka T-Bills. She explained that Savage probably assumed that she was aware and was encouraging it and began beefing her. Shaisha said she had found out about the secret affair after running into her former PA in London years later, who apologized for causing a rift with Tiwa Savage, I beg your pardon. She admitted that what her former PA did was disgusting, stressing that she would have done worse if she was in Savage's shoes. Popular Nigerian gospel singer Moses Bliss has revealed that he was denied entry into Tanzania due to visa complications, a situation that forced him to miss a highly anticipated worship concert reportedly attended by over 60,000 people. In a video post and statement shared on Instagram on Saturday, Bliss, who had earlier performed in Kenya, said his team was scheduled to fly from Nairobi to Tanzania on October 2 for the free worship event. However, on arriving at the airport, they discovered that visas had not been approved despite earlier assurances from the organizing team. He explained that his team immediately began reaching out to various authorities in the bid to resolve the issue. According to him, they were later advised to board their flight and obtain visas on arrival in Dar es Salaam, only for immigration officials to deny them entry after they landed at midnight. The singer described the ordeal as painful and disappointing, considering the time, effort, and resources invested in the concert. Bliss apologized to his Tanzanian supporters, thanking them for their love and promising to return. Nigerian artists' submissions for the 2026 Grammy Awards have been reviewed. Grammy monitoring platform, the Grammy Guru, recently released songs and projects submitted by some Nigerian artists for consideration for nomination for the 2026 Grammy Awards. Wizkid is the Nigerian artist with the most submissions. He submitted Morayo for Album of the Year and Best Global Album categories. The Starboy Boss has also submitted Piece of My Heart for Record of the Year, Song of the Year, and Best African Music Performance categories. He submitted Kese Dance, which was directed by him for Best Music Video. His collaborative hit with Olamide and Daku Billionaires Club was also submitted for the Best African Music Performance category. Burna Boy submitted his album No Sign of Weakness for nomination in both the Album of the Year and Best Global Album categories. He submitted his song Love for Best African Music Performance, while his collaborative hit with French star Joe Duet File Campe 3 was submitted for Best Global Music Performance. Ayra Starr submitted Hot Body for Record of the Year and Song of the Year categories. She also submitted her collaborative hit with Wizkid, Gimme That, for both Best African Music Performance and Best Music Video categories. The Recording Academy will vote for the songs and projects to be nominated in each category. The nominees will be announced in November 2025. Nigerian singer Davido recently joined the Recording Academy as a voting member. Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been sentenced to 50 months in prison after being convicted on prostitution-related charges. Prosecutors had pushed for an 11-year sentence, but Judge Aaron Subramanian imposed just over 4 years following an emotional day-long hearing on Friday. Combs' lawyers had urged a far lighter penalty of 14 months, effectively time served since the 55-year-old hip-hop star has already spent more than a year in custody in Brooklyn, according to newsmen. Before sentencing, Combs addressed the court expressing remorse. In July, a jury acquitted Combs of the most serious charges, sex trafficking and racketeering, but found him guilty of 2 counts of transporting people across state lines for prostitution. His former girlfriend, singer Cassandra Ventura, known as Cassie, submitted a searing letter to the court along with another woman identified as Jane. She said she was coerced into freak-offs, sexual marathons with hired men that Combs orchestrated and sometimes filmed. Prosecutor Christy Slavic argued that Combs has yet to take responsibility. In defense, attorney Nicole Westmoreland described Combs as an inspiration to the black community and a social justice crusader. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Fubara set to punish airing permanent secretaries for illegality. Army arrests 16 officers for misconduct. Court dismisses suit against Akpabio. Senate over Natasha's suspension. CBN announces fresh regulations to control Nigerian market. Israel deports 137 activists from Gaza aid flotilla. Super Falcons forward Onumonu announces retirement from football. I am Favor Chikwesiri Michael. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic TV Network. On Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, and on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. And don't forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do have a pleasant night rest.